This episode is brought to you by One World Empowered. Hey there, tired mama. Do you wish you could push a reset button on your energy? Like, do you want to keep up with those Energizer bunnies that are running around you all day? I know. I feel ya. Coffee can only do so much. Well, don't you worry. I've got you covered. Now just imagine a community of mamas who know the struggle and are working together to harness and reclaim their energy. We're talking about a true community of mamas who get it. Daily practices to jumpstart your days, accountability partners, group coaching calls to ground and recenter you throughout the 28 days. Does this sound like the exact dose of medicine you need in order to feel 100% again? If so, this program is exactly what you need if you want to be more present with your kiddos, if you think a new routine will help you maximize your time and you enjoy having an accountability partner to help you with developing that new routine and those new habits, if you'd like to increase your patience and energy all while reducing your stress and anxiety, and if you think it would be amazing to have an understanding community of mamas who get it and are on the same path towards healing. Mama, today is the day you choose you and level up. Come join our 28-day energetic reset for moms by visiting www.oneworldempowered.com/workwithme and click the Learn More option next to the Energetic Reset program, or just scroll down and click the link in my show notes below. I can't wait to meet you and witness you step into your full potential. See you there, Mama. You're listening to the Empowered to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Dina T, and I'm so excited to take you on a journey through stories of everyday experts as we share the ways we've harnessed the power inside us to improve the quality of our lives and the health of our minds. We're so excited to have you here with us and hope you feel inspired and empowered to heal. Hello, you beautiful souls, and welcome to Pride Month. This is such a special month to me. I feel like we should always celebrate living our authentic, truest lives. I believe wholeheartedly that every single person in this universe should be able to show up how they truly are, in their most purest, beautiful, magnificent self. And if we do that, no matter how we present ourselves, if it's seen as a way that people don't like, if we show up in our truest, most authentic form, in a manner that's safe for us and safe for others, we will heal. We will heal as a world and as a community. And it's to me, it's not rocket science to say that if you can live your truest life, if you can just be you, that you will find happiness and joy, and you will exude happiness and joy, which will be an infectious experience for others. And in June is Pride Month, and so we are specifically focusing on the LGBTQIA community. And I'm so honored to introduce you guys to our first guest this month. His name is Joel Rivera. He and I met at Child and Family Support Services when we were both working there, and he led many trainings, and we had some beautiful conversations throughout my time there that helped provide insight and education around how to best support people who identify as LGBTQIA+. And his approaches showed me so much about how we can live compassionately and live in a conscious manner that allows the people around us to feel safe to be their truest self while we're doing the same. And so he's joining us today to talk about his experiences at this phase of his life as he identifies as a gay man and how they've kind of progressed over time. And he is truly digging into some self-analysis and understanding reactions to experiences in his life and kind of ways he's set himself up to protect himself and He's analyzing some of that with us today, and I just truly love his authenticity and vulnerability and how he shows up. We are just coming together, chatting as two friends who want to support the world in gaining insight and how we can truly just hold space and honor each other for who we are and show up and just be yourself. I also want to share that there were some technical difficulties in this episode, so I apologize ahead of time. You will hear some audio differences, possibly some clicking sounds, and the tone of the audio changing as we switch microphones halfway through. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. Hi there, Joel. Thank you so much for joining the Empowered Heal podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
It is an honor to share your wisdom with my audience. So thank you so much for agreeing to join today and for agreeing to be a part of this whole Pride Month awareness that we're working on this month.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. I want to be vulnerable today. I want to share some real experiences. And, Pride Month is also my birth month. So I'm super excited for what that means.
Heck yes. My birthday's in June as well. It is such a month to celebrate and love life, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, it is.
So, you are kicking off our interviews for this month, and all month I am dedicated and organized to share voices of community members who identify as LGBTQIA. Let it go on as to however you identify. And I want people to hear real life stories and perspectives of what it is like living in your body and going through day to day life, and how you have moved through some of the difficulties and the stigma and just the friction that has come throughout pieces of life because of how you identify, how you've moved through that and found peace in how you live every day, or things you've realized that you've had to learn to live with despite trying to find your own rhythm and peace.
All right. We have so much to go over. Peace. Oh, I love peace.
I know we do. So, share with us a little bit, Joel. You can start out by telling us about you. Who are you? And how do you kind of fit into the puzzle of identifying with the LGBTQ community?
So I think, first and foremost, I'm Joel Rivera in everything that I do. And I'm really loud and I'm proud of that. I think I am such a vanilla gay, if you will, because I'm just gay, and I have so much pride in that. I guess I would be strawberry if anything. But I love that about myself. I move through the world, I let experiences come, and I really try to be open and receive them, right? I, I identify as gay, yes, but I've always toyed like, what if I'm queer? What if I'm this? And I think for me, being a part of the LGBTQIA community is really that. I feel like I have so many options of who I can be because I think that I'm a fluid person, right? And I'm still in a tinkering phase of, is gay all that I am? Am I queer? Do I feel that I need to use a label for me outside of Joel Rivera? So I'm definitely still in very early stages, even though I've been out and proud for so long. I'm still in early stages of really accepting a title or learning how a title for me is relevant. So that's who I am. I'm Joel.
Well, thank you for introducing yourself, Joel. I love how you pointed out that you are Joel first and foremost. And I think that that's powerful. Oftentimes, when we think of the LGBTQIA community, identity of who you are gets sucked directly or entirely into a gender identity or sexual orientation. And there's so much more to a person than any of that. And something I've cherished about you is how you've approached working with people. So we met through work, and you approached working with people through a lens of educating so that we could all do the best we could in our field and working with youth and families who may be going through trying to identify who they are, how they want to be present. And I think that you use the word fluidity. I think that there's a beauty to being fluid, especially when working with
Yes.
children. You see that in that, like those teenage years where you're trying to figure out who you are, like having grace and understanding and being educated on how to be with somebody who's figuring out their identity, whether that has
Yeah.
anything to do with their sexual preference or not.
Sexual preference or just attraction in general, right? I
Yeah.
think of myself when we talk about kids, right? At first I was like, am I able to really be this radical person who's radically going to accept kids for whoever they are, right? Am I going to be a person who's going to let that exist? And for a second, I was like, oh my gosh, is that like internalized homophobia coming at me? But I really am like, if we can't celebrate kids, if we can't let kids express themselves however they feel, what are we doing? For me, educating others was really a platform for me in helping people slow down,
Mm,
right? Every day is difficult for a kid. And I don't
mhm,
think that a kid, an adult, or anyone should have to face struggles because today they're they and tomorrow they're he. I don't think that that should be a challenge in
mhm,
someone's day or the thing that drives friction. I
mhm,
think that that's so awesome. Every day is a new opportunity. And what if today I'm a new part of me, right? And I go by them, right? I I think about this time that yeah, I was misgendered, but how I accept gender is different on a day-to-day basis. But someone called me her and she, and I was so flattered. I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. You think I'm a woman? Like literal tears of joy. But so much of that was how I decided to take that information in, right?
mm,
People confuse me with being a woman online quite often because I have such effeminate views, I have such soft views, I have such views on social justice and empowerment, well being. And I'm like, wow, that's so interesting that my gender, can be assumed through my belief that people should have equal access to equal things, right? I don't know. I still carry every day and I go by he, him most days. And I haven't, come to say I'm they or I'm, anything else. And I'm so excited that there's an opportunity for me in the future to use that. And
mm,
I feel that my kids have taught me so much of that every day is a new opportunity. And I can show up to this opportunity however I choose to do so because I am the ultimate controller of my life. And I think that
mhm,
that's beautiful. And I want to educate people around fluidity, I guess is what it comes down to, right?
mm,
And your self-empowerment.
mm. I love that. I think that something you bring awareness around are the common misconceptions about gender roles. I find this frequently with my son. He has very soft features and he likes having long hair and he dresses however the hell he wants to dress. And when we
Love
go
it.
out on the weekends, he regularly people say, "She is so cute. Look how beautiful she is." And I'm like, "Thank you. He's very adorable. I appreciate it." And he goes by him, right? He says he's
Mhm.
a boy, and so he's a boy. And I just think I think we often put things in our brains, we categorize things in boxes, and maybe it's a way we try to make
Yes,
sense of the world around us and interact with the world around
absolutely.
us. But the gender role piece of things, even how you shared like your viewpoints being mistaken as like a woman's viewpoints, right? That's interesting to me because I'm like, I don't, my husband and I have very similar viewpoints. And so none of that feels male or female, you know?
Right. I'm like, wow, can I not just be human? But because I, believe in empowering women, right?
Mhm.
Particularly online, I also have to be a woman, right? I think people have a really hard time accepting that a cis man can be supporting of other women,
Mm,
right? or it can be supporting of other people in general, just with experiences that we've had. And to the point of your son, Dina, isn't that so awesome that you're just able to create something for this child of being able to express themselves however they want? And ultimately, don't we want our kids to feel safe? Don't we want our kids to know that we are their protectors, that we're there with them, and that we're their greatest cheerleaders? And right now they get to experience your love and your intention through just how they get to wear clothing and express their hair. And I don't know, I just like, part of me is like, it's such small things that take so much getting to, right? It takes so much for someone to get to that, because I don't think that people inherently want to be rude or want to shut down things. But what I've labeled it as for myself, as you were saying, that we use boxes to try to make sense of things. Sometimes I think, is it internalized homophobia that I have when I struggle to accept something? Is it internalized homophobia that people have when they struggle to accept seeing a little boy who should be in shorts and a t-shirt wearing a dress or wearing a skirt? Like, is it them trying to fight those things that have been instilled in them in such a young age? Because we go anywhere in our society, in our world, and we see a blue and we see a pink, and we see a surgeon's mask, and then we see a lady's mask, or we see things just in general, and you look at two razors and they're razors, but one of them is blue, another one is pink, and one of them carries a pink tax. We're kind of very forced to be in this very binary way of thinking, and gender expression isn't binary. It's just this broad spectrum, and we should celebrate it, right? Because yes, there's gender, but then there's also just fashion.
Right?
Like, why can't
Thank
I
you.
just be bold in my fashion choices, right? I wear long hemline, like, I don't know what they're called actually, but none of my shirts are like this. They're always like curved, so whatever that means. And I love that. And that's more of like an effeminate type of feature or whatever in clothing. And I'm like, what? Like, I just like the extra fabric. Like, come on.
It's so funny you say that. I don't associate that that hemline, I don't know what you call it, with male or
But no,
female. I associate with like a certain style of dress. Like
right?
people dress that way who are oftentimes in gangs, like not gangs, what am I saying? People dress that style oftentimes when they're in bands. And I go to church and I see all the people on stage wearing shirts that are cut like that, boy or girl,
Yeah.
and it's like a band style or like just that style of dress. And I don't
Yes.
know. I don't connect it to male or female. Like it's truly just, I love that you bring up it's just fashion, y'all. Like chill out.
It's just clothes. And I bring that up because in my brain, that doesn't, like, what? It's clothes, right? But I bring it up because my experiences with my parents, right?
Mm,
Um, as my first educators, you can say, really taught me what I should and should not wear, and what should be reserved for maybe my sisters to wear,
mm.
and what I should be wearing, and types of things that I should be doing. Like, it went so far as to like what types of water bottles I'd be able to take to school or
Whoa.
not be able to take to school, because my dad's weird beliefs around vessels of water. And I bring that up just because gender is what we make it, right? Gender
Mhm.
expression is what we make it. But sometimes I feel so underdeveloped, right? And who I could be and how I could express myself because of the views of those that I care and respect about,
Mm,
have given me, right?
mm.
And so I feel like there's so much more to explore. And sometimes I'm looking around for someone to give me permission to express myself, but I'm like, hi, it's me. I give you permission to do what you want.
Something that you're reminding me of as you're talking is a conversation we've had previously about how you constantly feel like you are coming out over and over and over again, like day in and day out. And I think some of what we're talking about kind of lines up to that experience. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Since the last time we had that conversation, I've connected with a lot of my friends and they're on the same boat of, man, I have to constantly come out. I I think about how it feels superficial at times when I say I'm gay because I'm always having to out myself. I always feel that I'm giving someone else an explanation of my existence. And I think about how it really just frustrates me
Mm.
to have to come out because it frustrates me of why do I feel that I have to explain who I'm having sex with or who I have attractions to in a non-sexual or non-attraction setting, right? So to explain it, why should I have to tell my coworker I'm gay? Or why should I have to feel that I have to tell my coworker I'm gay? I'm not going to engage in any of these, listed things that come with that with them, but why do I feel kind of this obligation for that? I feel that, yeah, maybe that's 30 seconds that I explain to someone like, hey, Dina, I'm gay, okay, right? But I think about how much time do I spend worrying, oh my God, what if Dina finds out I'm gay? Or what if they out me at work? And it's like, well, you sure aren't straight acting, whatever that is. Why is that worrisome for you? Could I have spent that time doing things that are more of benefit for Joel, right? Instead of staying up late at night scared that, I was going to be outed at school or that I was going to, have to face a hate crime because I have my windows down playing Stupid Love by Lady Gaga. I was talking to my friend this weekend and we were talking about the idea of having to come out again and again. And they were sharing with me that they're not comfortable with being out with their family. And I really see them as someone who is out proud in themselves wholly. And I had a really hard time with accepting that. But the explanation that I was given was I don't owe anyone an explanation about who I'm with or who I'm attracted to, unless it's that person. If they have questions and they see me kissing a guy, they can figure it out, right?
Hmm.
And so I think about, am I spending a lot of my time trying to tell people who I am and not enough time experiencing who I am? And that's been like the ultimate settler in my brain right now of how am I experiencing me? How am I living my life? When do I give myself permission to stop giving other people explanations? And how am I going to challenge this idea that gay people or people of the LGBTQIA community owe cis hetero people any type of explanation? And also, I've not really experienced a cis hetero person demand an explanation of what my identity is outside of high school. So why do I continue this into my adult life,
Mm.
right? Why do I continue this into my adult life and why are those insecurities there? And, well, trauma, but I really think of how can I own who I am, right? And how can
Can
I
we
own
talk about that for a minute, Joel? Are you open to going into like digging into that a little bit?
anything?
Because
Let's do it. Yeah.
so as you're talking about this fear that you have with like being authentically yourself, you mentioned that you haven't had somebody kind of demand something from you since high school.
Yeah.
Where do you think that fear is coming from? Because I don't think you're alone. Whether people have had an adverse experience or not, there is a whole lot of fear that people are living with every single day. And can you speak into like what that means for you?
Yeah. I reflect a lot on why I carry the fear that I carry with me, that someone is going to demand an explanation from me. There wasn't one single bully that I had in high school who I can think of was the reason why I started this outside of myself. I was my greatest bully in school. I had
Mm.
this idea that I needed to be straight acting. I needed to not like Lady Gaga. I needed to not tell people that I liked Lady Gaga because that's what's going to affirm to them that I'm gay. Looking back at it now with all
Mm.
of my peers from high school, everyone and their mom knew that I was gay before I told any of them.
Mm.
And I'm so proud of that because no matter how much I tried to hide who I was always there and I was always present. But I think that that fear comes from me, comes from my own insecurities, comes from the fear that my dad, who is nonviolent, is going to all of a sudden hit me with a belt because I have a crush on a boy. My fear that if one of the people in downtown who I'm seeing on the streets see that I have a Lady Gaga t-shirt on, I'm going to get hurt physically when in reality I've never been hurt physically because I'm gay. So
Mm.
I want to say more things about this, Dina, but to be quite honest
Mhm.
with you, I'm my biggest enemy when it comes to this need that I have to come out to cis hetero people because of my own biases that I have that a cis hetero person is not going to be accepting of me for who I am when I haven't experienced that in my adult life.
Wow, Joe. Like you just that's profound. Like you just truly dug into yourself and your ego there,
Yeah.
right? To assess and understand, man, like I play the lead role in this fear dialogue in my head.
And I it took a lot, it takes a lot to accept that a lot of the times because for me i I want to exist in life however I want to be. I
Mm.
want to bring my energy. I i want people to listen to what I have to say because I genuinely believe in moments in time that I can be the person who is dumb. what I, what I mean in that is I know that some of my deepest and darkest secrets aren't that dark or aren't that deep as I think that they are. And I think
Mm.
sometimes we let these norms, these expectations that are never officially written out, dominate our lives. What if I challenge that in every way? What if I challenge that in the smallest? What if I ask someone a question? What if I say, I don't get that? What if I say, I don't
Mm.
want that? What if I say, I'm gay and what?
Mm.
Like, what about it? Like, quite honestly, Dina, I asked myself this question like, why do I care if someone knows that I'm gay? What the heck do I think is going to happen if they find out? Like,
Mm.
what power do I think I'm going to allow this person to have over me that them knowing this fact about me is going to change our connection, our relationship, or any opportunities that I have for advancement with them?
Mm.
Have formed thoughts here, Dina, because I'm experiencing life right now and I'm experiencing myself quite often. And I think I'm so young and underdeveloped in this area of my identity. And I've come to accept that. And I know that that's not going to be my reality in 10 years from now. And what I also
Mm.
know is that my reality in 10 years from now is going to be what I try to make it here going on today.
Mm.
How do I show up for myself? How do I remain kind to myself? And how do I also bring the power back to me? I give myself power as my own enemy. How do I give myself power as my own cheerleader, as my own supporter, as my own advocate?
Mm. I appreciate you sharing these, what you termed as half formed thoughts with us, because I think it shows the authenticity and how complex existing in the world can be,
Yeah.
right? And I would be remiss if I didn't speak to the fact that your fears are valid, even if they're not rooted in personal experiences. For the mere fact that you can experience what the rest of the world is experiencing or has experienced through storytelling or watching it on TV or observing it through someone you care about or you see in the world, that leaves an impact on us. It tells us something. A connection is made in our brain that creates its own fact system, right? Of what the world's going to be willing to accept or engage kindly with. I love that you're challenging that fear narrative with the reality that for your own life, you have not experienced any physical pain, right? As a result of who you're attracted to.
Right.
But there's very real reasons to be afraid. And I think it's so wise how you shared your half-formed thoughts with us of how you're trying to battle those fears and understand enemy the enemy inside you versus the person who sees the present and the reality of what your life consists of, and the person who sees the many years to come in your life, and that the decisions you make today will impact the decisions for tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. And I also, Dina, I I acknowledge that what I experience and how I experience it is different than other people. And part of me, I really, when I move with caution around my gender expression, around my sexual orientation, sometimes I'm like, I'm not just doing that because of my own experience. I'm doing that because I'm honoring experiences that other people have had, right? I move in my life with a lot of privilege. Not a lot of people want to fight someone of my stature, like physical stature, right? Not a lot of people want to create problems for someone like me. I'm a male. I'll fight you allegedly or whatever. But I I think about I think about situations where there are people who don't have that safety privilege and
Mm.
how they should move. They should move with caution, not because I want that to be the reality of our society, but because that's how people protect themselves. So I wouldn't ever
Mhm.
want to umbrella and say, you know, you can go out there and express who you are because you won't get hate crimes because I haven't. For me, that would be a really ignorant way for me to say something. And
Mm.
I also know that for me and for what I need moving forward, I need to embrace what I've experienced.
Mm.
I need to live full heartedly so that I can also be a glimmer of hope for people who have helped me be cautious.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
It does, and I appreciate that perspective. I think that that's a message that the whole world, coming from a standpoint of you and me, coming from a standpoint of people who have created missions in this world to create healing and embrace people how they are, and kind of that social work, social justice, like a mind frame that we have.
Yes.
I think that it's a beautiful message for people to hear, to be able to take their own life experiences to craft who they are authentically, who they want to be, and how they want to show up. I think that bringing it back to the discussion of having to out yourself all the freaking time, I want to talk a little bit about the pressures tied to that are very real and might not just be rooted in fear
Yeah.
of having to be of like the fear of how you're going to be accepted, right? Or belong in an instance. But I think that I see people every single day outing themselves to people that are not going to be long-term people in their life.
Mhm.
A server, right? An Uber driver, like just interactions like that where it's almost like you have to justify who you are to stand in the world, or you have to like connect the dots for somebody in a way that I think has weight to it, because coming out isn't always this like easy breezy experience. It's a very interesting dynamic for people who are wrestling like, who am I? How do I want to show up to be who I am? What does that mean in the bigger world of things?
Yeah.
And the first instance that you speak those words out loud, is there a trigger that comes back to those interactions every time you're having that interaction with, whether it be a friend or a family member or the Uber driver? Like, I don't know.
I mean, if I had to say anything, it's just a response that I have
Mm,
of this fear, and I want to get ahead of it. There are a lot of people in my life who deserve for me to be authentic with them because they are authentic with me.
mm,
There are a lot of people that I interact with in a weekly basis who do not need to know anything further than what iced coffee I want and what I need from them in that moment. I really think about how can I be safe, secure, and confident in myself without having to out myself to all these people? And do I think that I have to give an explanation to them? Let me kind of like get into that. There was this like time in my life where I wore like a rainbow wristband. Super cute. But I thought, what is this wristband doing? Is like what like do I have it on me because I like it? Or do I have it on me because I don't want to have to explain to someone that I'm gay? Am I wearing this as a message for other gay people near me? Like why did I decide that this rainbow
hmm.
wristband was necessary for me? Why did I out myself this way? Do I want to tell people that I'm a supporter? Like, should that be the first interaction that I have with someone? I support gay rights. Yeah, I mean, I support gay rights, but should that be the first thing that I meet with some? I don't meet a straight person who's, first impression that I have with them is, you know, straight people this or straight people that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trauma response to come out to people because I want to be
Mm,
preventative. I want to be preventative with what can
mm,
happen from that. I want to feel that I have some sense of control over it because I don't want it to become a situation where I'm pressured into responding one way or another. I just want to get it
mm,
done. And I think sometimes I don't really take into account or give enough perspective that being seated at a restaurant is never going to require me to express who I'm interested in sexually or who I have an attraction to. The
mm-hmm.
furthest that interaction needs to go is thank you so much for your service and here's 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Dina, I'm still thinking about that.
I think it's fascinating to continue dwindling it down to, as you said, a trauma response, right? So we've talked about some deep rooted things here, like fear
Yes.
and trauma responses. And again, those come from existing in a world where being different is not always embraced.
Right. And 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 I
Mm-hmm.
think about, and I say and a lot because I'm I'm getting closer to this reality of myself of when am I going to put my foot down? And if I have the privilege and if I have the opportunity, when am I going to put my foot down and say, this is the life that I want? And does that require someone else's permission? No, it doesn't. Now that I have this stage, what am I going to do with it? I feel like sometimes I'm at a loss of, okay, I've accepted who I am. I've let people know who I am. I've experienced who I am. But now what do I do with it? I feel like my experience with being gay has been quite superficial, right? And maybe that's all that my experience with being gay needs to be, because that isn't my whole identity. It's only a fraction of who I am. And so why do I spend so much of my time with that on my mind? As I'm getting older, it's a lot less frequent on my brain, more so because I have a self-awareness around it, and I kind of am like, Joel, shut up. Like, no one cares. I was at a comedy club, and I said a slur that most people shouldn't say. I shouldn't have really said it in the context that I did. But the comedian asked me, "Sir, are you gay?" And I said the word. I said, "I'm a whole." And I kind of stopped myself, and I was like, oh my God, first of all, I don't talk like this. Second of all, like, where did that come out of? And this gay comedian questioned if I was actually gay. And I was so desperately trying to prove to him. And the situation was just so funny. I was wearing like camo, which is like obnoxiously straight, allegedly. And I'm wearing like denim, and I'm with a blonde woman. And I'm like, oh my God, like I look hetero. And I was like so desperately trying to prove to this man that no, it's okay. I can say this slur. But then I was like, was it really okay for me to say that slur? Is that who I am? Is this how I talk? Why did I have this like overwhelming need to overcompensate that I was gay? And it was quite funny. He actually added me on Facebook after that, because I like went and I apologized to him, and he still didn't believe me that I was gay. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? How do I was like, do I have to kiss this man to prove to him that I'm gay?
Oh my God.
and I got so desperate. And he went on my page, and like he liked 3 photos. And one of those photos I was in front of a rainbow. Another one of those photos I was wearing like, a Lady Gaga t-shirt. And then another one was me posting that I was at a Lady Gaga concert. And I was like, was that all he needed to prove that I was gay? Like, how did we get into this dispute, sir, of am I gay or not? And why did I feel this need to prove to a gay man that I was gay? I was like, this is weird, because I've never really had to prove to a straight person that I'm gay. But I'm over here trying to prove to this gay man that I am gay.
I appreciate your mind, Joel. I appreciate that you went up to this man afterwards and you tried to remedy the reaction you had. And I appreciate that you're sitting here days later reflecting on that interaction and analyzing yourself, not this other man, right? You're analyzing you.
Yeah.
You're analyzing your trigger of that moment and why'd you get there in the first place? And I just think that's beautiful that you are taking the step to look in a mirror in that type of moment to evaluate what you contributed to feel the way that you felt.
Yeah. So that was just my trauma response, That's why I did it. I overcompensated straight from the beginning, because I was working so hard in my own brain to prove that I was who I am, because I felt that my existence wasn't enough for it.
What a valuable lesson. Like, your existence is enough. It's that simple.
It is. It is that simple.
But it's complex as a human, right? Like, I'm not gay, and I'm literally a privileged individual in this universe, right? By all means that you could think of, other than being a woman. and I am a person of privilege, and I have not faced hardships in the degree of feeling like an oddball in the universe that is going to blame me for how I feel, rather than feeling like a person that just belongs for being a person. Like, I haven't experienced that. I have been entered into this world and existed in just a very privileged manner. And when I think of that, I still, myself to this day, have experiences that you experienced. Not around being gay and proving myself, but feeling like I have to prove myself or react in a way that proves myself, right? And it makes me laugh. I think of a time my best friend got married, and I think I had a reaction to this man. I was walking down the street and he was extremely out of line. And we were at her bachelorette party, and he like made a comment to me that I was a virgin. And I was like, dude, I'm married, like well into my marriage here. Who are you? And my reaction to him was like aggressively, like, what the hell? I'm married. And it still to this day sits inside me of like, why do we feel like we have to prove ourselves to random strangers in this universe who have no power over us, no authority in who we are, what we're going to do with our lives, or they're just not even a speck in our map of how we live, right? It's just a stranger. This comedian is just a stranger to you. Yet a lot of us, I think everybody at some point in their life feels this pull to prove themselves
Yeah,
and react to that degree. And I think it's a good example for us to realize, like, come on, y'all, we're all human. Like, we're all human, whether I'm feeling that way about whatever I went through and you're feeling the way you're feeling about what you're going through. Like, it's all just human experience.
absolutely it is. As you were talking, when I was younger, and I grew up with the internet, so super fantastic. And I grew up with access to the internet. I remember being like in type chat rooms or like Twitter or like different spaces. And I remember messaging like people or trying to get into like Facebook groups where there were other gay people, and I'd be like, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay. And that was before I was out to my parents.
Hmm.
And I I think about how that felt so safe at that time. I have friends that I made when I was like 12 on the internet, and we're still messaging each other like every day. And I'm seeing them graduate school, and they've seen me do my own things and stuff. And I'm like, I really
Hmm.
went to this stranger and I just spilled my biggest and darkest secret that I'm gay. That's what we formed a friendship around. But I was scared to tell my family, who I felt safe with, because suddenly I wasn't going to be. My experiences with my parents were interesting, with coming out to them and their acceptance around it. And there was a lot of education that I did with them, for sure there was. But ultimately, I still have both of my parents in my life, and both of my parents are accepting of who I am. Why was I scared to tell them? Me. I was scared because of what was going to happen to me. I was scared of what that was going to mean for my relationship with them. Was I going to lose those safe people in my life? Right?
Hmm.
And I think back to what we were talking about earlier of why should we let kids express themselves in the way that they want to? Because kids have so many more problems that they're going to be dealing with. They're going to have their biggest enemy be themselves.
Hmm.
And we as adults should give them a fair chance to experience life with acceptance. I think I could gain 10 years in my receding hairline back if I didn't have to worry about how me being gay affected me or how it could affect others.
It's a valuable lesson, Joel. I feel like it deserves to be honored because I don't think you're the only person thinking about that. And as a person whose sole desire here in the month of June is to honor your story and honor everybody's story who's identified as LGBTQIA, anything that you identify as is is okay, and your existence is enough, right? And I like to go back to that statement because none of that other, I mean, I don't like take it completely away from LGBTQIA and give it to like it doesn't matter to me where you were born. It doesn't matter to me the color of your skin. It doesn't matter to me the people you're attracted to, your sexual orientation, your gender identity, none of that matters because our existence is enough. And this month, my dream is that people can hear it loud and clear that our existence is enough and we deserve to show up authentically who we are and continue to combat the thoughts that we might have or the perceptions of others or the experiences of others in a way that builds boundaries and doesn't invite that in as a narrative in our mind or a reason for how we should live our life.
Show up for you. Show up for you.
Mm-hmm.
Be you. Be loud, be proud, be quiet, whatever you want to be. But do it because you want to do it. Do it for you.
Bam. Bam. Thank you so much, Joel, for joining us today and really digging into yourself today. I appreciate that. And I know that's not easy to have like these really deep thoughts publicly. So thank you.
It's not easy because these thoughts maybe tomorrow are going to be so much different than what they are today. But ultimately, I think in every space, we should be sharing what we have on our mind because we should be continuously assessing. We should be doing more. We should be, learning from one another. And we should be proud to say, I have a different view on that now.
I totally agree. Thank you so much, Joel.
Thank you, Dina.
Thank you so, so much for tuning in today. I hope you are feeling inspired and empowered in your own healing journey. I know that many of you listening might be reflecting on your own stories that you may feel called to share. If so, please reach out to me at dinat@empowertoheal.com. That's DENAT@empower2heal.com. Or drop me a message through my Instagram handle at empower2heal. I would love to connect with you and learn about your journeys so that we can hopefully continue to spread these powerful life lessons on empowering ourselves to heal. My contacts will also be linked in the show notes below so that you can easily find me. We are so eager to start a movement in showcasing the many ways we can heal. And you can be part of this movement too by capturing images and tagging them #empower2heal on Instagram. We look forward to seeing all the ways that you are empowered to heal. I love you, beautiful souls, and thank you so, so much. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and review. You're listening to the Empower to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Dina T, and I'm so excited to take you on a journey through stories of everyday experts as we share the ways we've harnessed the power inside us to improve the quality of our lives and the health of our minds. We're so excited to have you here with us and hope you feel inspired and empowered to heal.